Okay, so again, the quiz asks you to sketch the graphs with points and curves, then repeat in the notebook. Okay, so the squaring graph, you need all these lines for the vertical. At least one person left off these two lines here, and you can't do the graph if you don't have those lines. Okay, and as I've been emphasizing, you can't be sloppy on this. Some of these were a little bit sloppy. But the good side, the lines are pretty well spaced. I didn't see any egregious errors on doing those lines, except leaving some of them out. And you can't do that. If you leave these lines out, you don't get the right graph. Okay? Then you have to have this perfect. It should be perfect now. So, showing you this, but you start up and left, you go over one, down two. You go over one, down two. Yeah, I can't count. Okay, over one, down two, and you're at the red dot. This is part of the instruction. Read the words, get them into your mind, and practice doing these correctly. Okay? One thing I've asked you to do is correct these graphs, and the majority of you have. Okay? And the rest have most of it. You got to get those details. I'll stop nagging now and go on. Okay, so now we go over one, up two, over one, up two, over one, up two, and we sketch on. If you haven't sketched that curve, the results are not going to make sense. At least they're not going to be as accurate as they could be. They might make sense, but they won't be right. Okay. Now, hope you got a big graph of this thing. So now I'm going to say this is x equals 0. This is x equals 16. Can you label the rest of the construction lines? You want to extend them a little bit beyond the rectangle. So you got the rectangle drawn. You can easily do it. Then you can put x equals whatever it equals here, x equals here, x equals here. Unless you got a pretty big graph, you might want to label these two up here. You got enough space, you can label them down here. So fill in the numbers. No, what your question? Yeah, those are your construction lines. So this is this your
That's one.
Huh?
That's one.
Yeah, that said make them big, right?
Yeah, it's works better.
Yeah. Make a big one there so you can label, because it's gonna be hard to label. There's nothing wrong with the graph. It's too small to label. Yeah, if you didn't make a big graph, you're gonna be sorry when you try to label it. You can still do it. Okay. It's too small though. Maybe something like that. Yeah. Generally, what I'm saying is, it would have worked easier for you if you made them bigger. If they're big enough, you got a nice sharp point. Not big enough that I can see what you're writing. Then that'd be good. Labels up there, so two closest to the middle, and like, yeah. Numbers are right. Yeah, pretty good. But again, attention to detail, do them all. Okay. Yep. Halfway between that and that. You know, from the way you constructed the lines, that one line is halfway between, right? The graphics. Okay. Yeah, I was recording all that. Fortunately, I didn't say anybody's name. Okay. I'm so excited to see what everybody's doing. I forgot to pause the video. So we got a little dead space in the video, but that's all right. And it's going around the room, looks good. Okay, now, sometimes it looks slow. Has to be faster. Do these until you can do them quickly, because we can't wait 10 minutes to have these graphs drawn in class. We can do something with it. You should be able to draw any one of these graphs in a minute or less, along with labeling. Although labeling takes a little bit of work. If the numbers aren't as obvious as they are here, it's reasonable to take a little longer. Okay. But I usually give you easy numbers. Okay, so what are the numbers? Here's 0, here's 16. What's here? It's halfway between 0 and 16, which most of you think is 8, and that's true. I think I'm ready for that. Okay. And then where's this line? Well, when you constructed it, here's the middle, here's the right edge. This line's halfway from the right edge to the middle, so it's halfway between 8 and 16. And halfway between 8 and 16 is 12. This line is halfway between the left edge and the middle. Left edge is 0, middle is 8. Halfway between 0 and 8. Well, if you know halfway between 0 and 16 is 8, I know you know halfway between 0 and 8 is 4. Okay. Another way you could get the 12 here is realize, well, this space is the same as this space. This space is obviously 4. Add 8 to 4, you get 12. Okay. That's not a bad way to think about it, but it's quicker just to look at the numbers, because these numbers are pretty easy. Okay. Okay. So let's say we have now x equals what on this line? What's halfway between the 4 line and the 8 line, which makes it 6, and halfway between the 8 line and the 12 line makes it 10. If you can get that quickly, go back to the video. This part of the video, I can't tell you what minute we're on now. I'd say about 20 minutes. Okay. Somewhere around there. Make sure you understand everything I said. Okay. Now, another comment I made, just a little reminder, make this graphs big enough that you can label it. Furthermore, big enough that I can see the labels. Okay. Because there's going to be more stuff inside the graphs that you're going to be labeled. Okay. You want plenty of room. Wouldn't hurt to take the full page. Or at least half the page. Okay. Okay, now let's go ahead and label the lines. I'm gonna make it y here equals 32 and y down here equals there's 32 and there's 0, so what are the rest of your numbers? Okay, now it's reasoning. And let me go ahead and put my y over here. Y equals 32. It's okay to label it over here too. So this line is where? Halfway from here to here, halfway from 32 to 0 is 16. Where's this line? Halfway between 0 and 16, because of the way you constructed it. This line halfway to the bottom from this one. That's y equals 8. Halfway from 8 to 0, well, that's where this line is. This line's halfway between here and here, so that means it's 4. This line is halfway between here and here, so it's 2. And then we've got y equals 1 down here on the lowest line. Make sense? Okay. Now, estimate y if x equals 13. And then we're going to call this graph y equals f of x. Let's make the solution of f of x equals 22. Okay, now we did this last time. So, generally when we do something in class, you take notes on it. And if you don't understand your notes, you go back and look at the video, okay? And nobody's doing what we did in class. Well, nobody, there are 2 people maybe that did what we did in class. And the one thing that you want to do, and I've seen some good estimates, but I haven't seen construction, okay? What you want to do is you want to draw the line where x equals 13. Can you draw the line where x equals 13? Okay, well, you should do that. That's how you start. Okay, it's not hard to do. Draw the line where x equals 13, and then figure out what y is when that line hits the graph. Okay, and make sure you lock that idea in, because it's the central thing you have to understand about values on a graph. And it's easy. You just have to know they have to do it. So we're re-emphasizing that, okay? And then when you do this, there's a line you need to draw for that one too. Now you want to nail this now because we're going to use it. Okay. You draw the line where x equals 13. I'll use a different color. And 13 is closer to 12 and 16. Between 12 and 16, closer to 12. You can say there's 12 and 16. So right there is 14 and halfway between 14 and 12 is 13. So it'd be about here. There's my x equals 13 line. And it hits the graph here. Then we draw the horizontal line. And we get a number that's between 8 and 16. Okay. Now it's closer to 16 than it is to 8, but it doesn't look like it's quite 15. It looks like it's about closer to a third of the way between these points. So you can estimate decimals. You can add variables like if this is 8 and this is 16, then you think, well, 12 is halfway between. So 12 might be about here. And then 14 would be halfway between 12 and 16. And that looks like about 12 and a half. Okay. So I'm getting I use a little approximate sign here. So I'm going to say that now by conclusion, and if I'm looking at a dozen papers and wanting to go through them fairly quickly, okay, I want to see somewhere that says f of 13 is approximately 16. With a circle around it and write it kind of big so I don't have to. It's written bigger than other things so I can spot it immediately, right? So I don't have to go doing a lot of looking. Makes up class. Okay, it's okay for right now, but we want to get a little quicker. Okay, then f of x equals 22. What are we going to do about that? Well, f of x, it's y equals f of x. So if f of x equals 22, then y equals 22. Because y equals f of x. So we go up here and we find 22. Here's 16 and here's 32. Halfway between 16 and 32 is 24. So maybe we draw a little line there for halfway 24. We know that because it's 8 units between, 16 units between here and here. Half that would be 8 units. Or we could have 16 to 32, divided by 2, 48, divided by 2 is 24. Okay. Various ways. You should be able to think it through anyway, but when you're doing it, just do it the quickest way. Works for you. Okay. And if the numbers are too ugly, you mean take a calculator, add them and divide by 2. Have two numbers divide by 2, you get a number halfway in between. Now we're trying to find 22. So let's see, halfway between 16 and 24 would be 20. So now we know where y equals 22. And I draw the whole horizontal line and I put a mark on the graph. Fair enough. Then I do line here, or label it someplace, I'll label it here. What do you think x is? Here's 12, here's 16. What do you think that is? Well, I could divide the 12 into 16, there's 14. Looks like a little less than 15, so I'm going to say x equals 14.8. So now I'm going to say, write the equation, f of x equals 22. X is about 14.8. Okay. So, that's the kind of thing I want you to do. Do it in this form. Because if you keep doing it in that form, it'll pretty quickly make perfect sense to you. And then you'll understand what you're looking at when you look at the graph. Got a question? Okay, thank you. Got a really good comment here. So, hey, wait, there's another mark on the line. Okay. So I better put that mark on the line. And do this. And that looks like it's it looks pretty close to x equals 1. I'm even going to say it's a little less than 1. It looks to me like it's about 0.8. Actually, I think it's more like 0.9. But I'm going to use 0.8 so I can make it. Thank you. There are two solutions, right? Okay, that wouldn't be true for the exponential function. It wouldn't be true for the reciprocal function because they're single value. Now that's a term you'll see later, and we'll make it more specific when you see it in open math, but you're going to see it. Okay. So you call this function, it's not 1-to-1. For given y, there are 2x's, not 1. For the exponential function, it's 1-to-1. For any y, there is an x. Make sense? Okay. that's coming up next week. You'll see it. It's worth starting the way here as an example. Okay. Now, if you look at my curve, this thing should be symmetric. Okay. And my curve isn't quite symmetric because I didn't draw it perfectly. Part of the reason there is I just can't draw it. Nobody can, but a lot of people do better than I do. Okay. In other words, this point is a lot further, or significantly further from the right edge than this point is from the left edge. It's just not symmetric. Okay. All right. Well, now I'm going to strain this a little bit. Okay. The formula for this function be y equals x minus h squared. Okay. Well, what do you think? How would you test that? Let me observe one thing about this. X equals 8, does that work? If x equals 8, you're going to get 0, aren't you? 0 squared is still 0. And if x is 8, what's the point on the graph? This point, right? And what's y? 0. That clear? Should be perfectly clear, but make sure that you think about this until next time we say something like that in a couple of days. It is perfect. Okay? It's pretty clear, I think, to most of you. Maybe to everybody, because everybody's doing pretty well. Okay? So that works for x equals 8. So this must be the right formula, right? Well, let's just make sure. Pick some other value, pick an x value and a y. What do you get? If you plug it in for x. Okay, now just to make sure we understand what we're saying, I just asked how many people found a point and found that it works, and nobody indicated that they have. And then I've said, fine, but it doesn't work, and a few people indicated that it didn't work. And that's correct. Okay, if you choose any point except this one, it's not going to work. And to make it obvious, why don't we just pick one of the points that we know is on the graph? You could pick one of our estimates, but the other points have easy coordinates. Okay, so let's use one of the points either to the right or to the left of the center. Okay, so do you want right or left? Quick note. Right? That's all I've heard. Okay, to the right. Okay, so your choices are 8, 10, 12, or 16, right? So vote quickly, decide which one you want. Okay, and actually it's in 1, 2, 3. Okay, that would be 10, 12, or 16. Okay, or, yeah, that's right. Okay, so give me 1, 2, or 3 fingers. Everybody, I don't care how many. Come on, everybody vote. Everybody can hold up some number of fingers between 1 and 3. Okay, the majority of 2s. Majority of 2, so that would be x equals 12, right? And what should I get if x equals 12? Well, I should get y equals 8, shouldn't I? That's the point where x is 12 and y is 8. Okay, so go ahead and put 12 in there and see if you get 8. Okay, so X is 12, then Y is 12 minus 8 squared, which is 4 squared, which is 16. But that doesn't match the graph, does it? Now, how does 16 compare to 8? Well, it's bigger, but what could you say that's more specific? Okay, well, somebody cheated and said the whole thing. Oh, that's good. That's good. I love that. Okay. And somebody said, well, if you do half of this, it's going to work. Okay. Because what? If X equals 12, Y equals 8, not 16. Are 8 and 16 related? Well, that was an intermediate step. 16 is twice as big as 8. So 8's half as big as 16. So if you do everything half as big, it should work. Okay? Okay. So pick another value of X. Pick another one of these points that we haven't already used. Don't use 4 because that's going to give you the same thing as 12. Although you could. Pick another X coordinate of one of these points, plug it in here and see if it matches the one formula. Okay, looking at the table or the graph, we've seen that when X is 0, Y is 32. This point, X is 4, Y is 8. There it is. This point, X is 6, Y is 2. Pretty much everybody's getting these. It's good. And when X is 8, Y is 0. And then you can go to the other points. You just read them off. The lines tell you what's what. So if X is 10, you get 2. And if X is 12, you get 8. And if X is 16, you get 32. Okay, well, let's calculate a couple of these. Let's calculate this. Okay. F of 6 equals 1/2 of 6 minus 8 squared, which is 1/2 of 2 squared, which is 2. Okay. Now skip a step, and you square 2, you get 4.5, and that is 2. So you should get 2. Look at that, it matches. Astounding. Okay. If I want F of 12, it's 1/2 of 12 minus 8 squared, which is 1/2 of 4 squared, which is 8. So I have to put 8 here. And look at that, it matches. Now you need to work that out in detail. Now I'll give you another one. I'll post it in the assignments page for homework, okay? I'll give you a set of other dimensions. I might go 0 to 32 here and 0 to 16 here, just to make it easy. Okay? Because I want you to totally understand that we have an algebraic expression that we can do all kinds of things with that matches the construction of your graph. Okay? And if you've accurately constructed your graph, it works. Now let's just take f of 13 equals 16. I'll just fill in these values. I'm going to go to all the detail of is f of 13 equal to 16? Well, f of 13 is 1/2 of 13 minus 8 squared, don't really estimate 16. I didn't estimate 16. I estimated 12 and a half. 16 was going to be way off. It said, in the right solution there. Well, that was my solution. And actually, it looks like I lucked out, because that's exactly right. Now, that's just luck, because that's not a particularly well-drawn graph. And I didn't calculate it in advance. I just stumbled into the right number. That means, though, that my graph is pretty well done. Remember how I did this? I divided this interval in half. Then I divided this interval in half, so that looked like it's halfway between there and there. Oh, you know, that wouldn't be 12 and a half, that would have been 13, wouldn't it? Okay, so I didn't luck out. Okay. So I had a really done thing there, got the right answer. You never get the right answer. So Y approximately was 13. Okay, well, if I work this out, that is going to equal 12 and a half. And my estimate is 13. Close. Then I have f of x equals 22. Estimated solution was x equals 14.8. Or 0.8. Okay. Now, if I plug 14.8 in, well, 14.8 minus 8 is 6.8. 6.8 squared is about 46. I do 45. That's about 22.5. Okay. And I estimated that this was a solution to this. If I plug this in for x, I get something very close to 22, right? Okay. So that's not bad. I need a little more room. Get rid of my line here. Yeah, of 0.8 is, well, I'm just going to put a couple of dots down there. I'll calculate it. You get 7.4 squared. And 7.4 squared would be about 55, and that's about 27 or 28. I'm going to say 28. Okay, so this one was not bad. And my 14.8 was not bad. My graph wasn't drawn very good. Don't notice that I missed this point. If I go down and hit this point and draw the graph more carefully, I probably would have hit it exactly. Because the exact solution of that equation is decimal that's infinitely long that you can't even write out accurately. Okay. Now we could solve that equation. Okay. We could solve the equation. We solve f of x equals 22. Well, that is 1/2 of x minus h squared equals 22, right? Okay. How do you solve that equation? Well, you multiply both sides by 2. I didn't expect you necessarily to get all that off and all these steps, but they're easy. We just multiply both sides by two. 2 times 1/2 is 1. So we got x minus 8 squared. 2 times 22 is 24, right? So x minus 8 is plus or minus the square root of 44. Okay? And it has to be plus or minus. Otherwise, somebody is going to forget to do this point. And somebody's going to have to remind them. Okay? I'll be an idiot. I didn't bother to do that point, but this gives you that point. Now, the whole thing about plus or minus, we'll work a little bit more on solving equations. Many of you will understand this, maybe everybody. So we have this, so that if I add 8 to both sides, I end up with x. Right now, I add 8 to both sides because I want to end up with x. It's going to be 8 plus or minus the square root of 44. Okay, square root of 44 is approximately 6.7. That's approximately a lot. As many more decimals as you want to write down, the calculator will probably give you about 10 as well. Okay. Eight plus 6.7 is 14.7. 8 minus 6.7 is 1.3. They said I got kind of close to 14.8. And that proved to be a not bad estimate. It didn't give me exactly 22, but it's pretty darn close. Okay, and the graph is pretty steep over here. It's changing pretty fast, so getting that close is pretty good. Okay, but I made up for it by being really bad over here. I estimated 0.8, it should have been 1.3. I was off by half a unit. And the graph is so. Now the secret is, there's kind of a secret to how I got the 1/2 here. Okay. Comes out fairly easy. I've got 32 up here and I've got 16 over here. And 32 is twice as big as 16, right? So that wasn't too hard to figure out. Okay. Why did I use x minus 8? Because 8 has to give us 0. Okay. I don't expect you to do that perfectly. Not real hint here and there. But I'm going to give you a grid that's 32 plus 16 and ask you to do the same thing. Okay. Well, supposed to be. Fair enough. So once you be able to do that, once you be able to do all this precisely, accurately, with some practice. Thank you. You don't have a lot of time between now and then. Do some practice and get a little faster than you were today. So that next Tuesday is really fast. You're really not in the face. Okay. You're doing really well. I'm really pleased with what I saw today. Okay. There's some mistakes, but we're doing pretty well here. So try to nail it completely. Don't get overconfident.